speak to this crowd and speak at this wonderful place. For those of you who haven't been following this race or what is going on in the country, you know, it's so essential that we all comprehend that this really isn't a Republican issue. It's not a Democratic issue. It's not really even just a New York City issue. This race is, as much as anything, is about humanity and about who we are as a society and who we are as a people. The radical progressive criminal justice movement, which embodies my opponent Alvin Bragg, which is funded by George Soros to the tune of $1 million that he has pledged to my opponent in just this race. It is part of a national movement, a national template that can only be described as anti-societal and homicidal. Their playbook is really designed, the intent of it is to undermine the American system. And I know that sounds severe and dramatic, but you have to understand where people like George Soros are coming from. I know a lot of people in this room, I'm on friendly turf here, so there are a lot of people in this room who probably do understand that. But George Soros and his progressive agenda is based on the principle that the American system is systemically racist, oppressive, and unjust. And as a result of that, they believe it should be taken down. And I mean, I suppose there's something that they want to put in its place. I'm not sure what it is, and I'm quite confident none of us would like living under it. But you know, one of the things that makes it frustrating is they're incredibly effective at what they do. And they're very tactical about it, because if there was a society that we thought was unjust, you know, whether it was Castro's Cuba, Marxist, Leninist Russia, and we were going to try to undermine that society, probably the most effective way to do it would be to undermine their justice system. I defy anyone in this room or in any other room to look back at, you know, thousands of years of recorded human history and find me a society that endures without law and order. It's just not there. The reason they're so effective at implementing their strategy is that many people don't comprehend or don't understand what a district attorney does, how essential a position it is, and most people don't know who the district attorney is, frankly. The district attorney is the chief law enforcement officer in the jurisdiction. So if I'm elected Manhattan District Attorney, as I believe I will be on November 2nd, thank you. Okay. I will be the chief law enforcement officer in Manhattan. Senior to the chief of police, similarly, I have a military background, similar to how the Secretary of Defense wears a suit, not a uniform. We believe in the society, basically in the civilian control of the military and our police force. But because not everybody apprehends that, people like George Soros are able to descend on these district attorneys races. He's done it in San Francisco, he's done it in Philadelphia. I knew the prior district attorney in Philadelphia. He was a Democrat, African American. He ran into some of his own problems that led to him leaving office, but he was a traditional prosecutor. Soros sensed an opportunity, as he does whenever these seats become open. He pumped money behind a gentleman by the name of Larry Krasner, who could only be described as an unhinged lunatic. Next thing you know, Philadelphia is led by Larry Krasner. Philadelphia now has the highest homicide rate it's had since 1960. I don't need to lecture anybody in this room what's happened in New York City since the progressive agenda has taken root in 2020. January 1st, 2020, the bail reform went into effect. By the end of January 2020, we had a 100% increase in shootings, 50% increase in murders. It continues this year. What's most tragic about it is we know, quantifiably we know, when you have a dramatic increase in violent crime, when you have any increase in violent crime, not only disproportionately, but overwhelmingly the victims of those crimes are going to be Black and brown people in underserved communities. So the tragic rub here is that the very people that these progressives purport to be championing are the ones most terrorized by the agenda that they implement. So there is, and I don't say this to be self-inflating because I really never wanted to be in politics. I never wanted to be in a position where I'm running to be district attorney. I was a young prosecutor in my 20s. I enjoyed it, but I thought I moved on from that and opened up a successful defense practice, and I kind of like that. So, you know, it's not being grandiose to say that this race, I think, is as important, if not more important than the mayoral race, because frankly, whether Curtis Sliwa wins, God willing, or even Eric Adams, who has made at least, you know, reasonable gestures towards supporting law and order, neither of them are going to be very effective at combating a crime epidemic if we have a prosecutor like my opponent who has said publicly, repeatedly, that he not only supports the disastrous bail reform law that is attributed to this unprecedented increase in crime, he wants to double down on it, and he wants to see cash bail eliminated completely, so that presumably everybody gets out. He has said publicly and repeatedly that he proposes all plainclothes policing. By the way, when the NYPD disbanded the plainclothes police unit in 2020 under political pressure, that's when we saw subway crimes and shootings go through the roof, because that's what the plainclothes cops do. So, you know, he's not content with the status quo, despite how disastrous the status quo is. You know, he wants to take it much further. So, you know, because of that, I don't think anyone can really underscore the importance of electing a traditional, tough but fair prosecutor, like we've always had up until very recently, and certainly like I will be if in fact I am elected on November 2nd. So thank you very much. I appreciate all the support.